Good afternoon, jerks. Day 3 of the Karen Reed retrial just wrapped up, and I figured I'd do a little quick impromptu live since I didn't get to do one last night. And tonight we're going to be with a candidate for office for Norfolk County DA. Juna Perkins going to be here tonight at 6:30. Going to be talking a lot about Michael Morrissey and Michael Proctor, but I wanted to get to the news of the day in the last couple days, especially yesterday. Kerry was on the stand. And that testimony was very interesting. How the judge even referred to Kerry as Miss McCabe at the end, because it's like Jackson was pulling the string, showing that Jen McCabe was pulling the strings on Kerry, and Kerry admitted it. And we're going to go through that. There's a great quote that I'm going to read directly from Alan Jackson, the question that he asked Kerry yesterday, and she agreed. She said, "Yes, yeah, that's exactly it." That was amazing yesterday. It's an interesting trial so far because Hank Brennan really isn't doing too much. The only hope he has is those little video clips he plays, and I don't think that they're as compelling. But obviously, you never know. Some jurors are really not that bright, and I could definitely see some jurors being swayed by that. But that's all he's got. That's it. There's been no real evidence presented yet. A lot of defense impeaching of witnesses happening left and right. We're going to talk about that. But also yesterday, was that yesterday or Tuesday? I'm getting confused now. Tuesday night, we had Bettero on the show. We had a big Bettero show. And for once, I didn't air the Canton Select Board. I knew it was going to be a good one. I expected them to talk about Rafferty's contract. You saw it come up in the last Select Board meeting with one of the Select Board members, Chris Boyden, questioning Chris Albert about recusing himself about the renewal, about the talks for contract extension, what to do with Canton Police Chief Rafferty. And you could see it was becoming an issue. We were bringing it up on this show. We were talking about it, especially with Susan Harrington now being elected. We've been heavily talking about this. And because of the vote, I mean, the people should be so excited right now. The people of Canton, they came out and they made a big change. They voted out John Conley. They elected Susan Harrington. It was an overwhelming vote. Guy lost his seat after over 3 decades in the same position. Doesn't happen. She beat him strong, convincingly. So now he's gone, and Chief Rafferty told the select board that she's resigning. This is because of the Canton voters. Everyone wants to know why. It's because of the vote, because of the election of Susan Harrington, because it became an issue where Trish Boyden was speaking up to Chris Albert at the last select board meeting. And did you notice at this select board meeting on Tuesday night, Chris again was not in attendance? It's the last 3 select board meetings he's missed twice. If you look over the last year, he's missed the most by far of any select board member, past or present, over the last year. There's been some elections. Your vote made a difference. The people voting, it's making a difference. So I'm excited about this. What I want to do today, is play some of this great video from court, but also open up with Chief Rafferty. Helena Rafferty, Chief Rafferty. We've been covering this heavily, and then we have Bettero on the show the other night, and the big news comes out, and no one is airing it live. I think Resistance to Silence was the ones that were broadcasting it. But I was hoping LTL Media might do it. I asked him, but he couldn't get out of work in time. So we didn't get to air it. So we're going to play some of it tonight and the way that the audience reacts. And then I'm also going to go to this other video from Kerry and Alan Jackson. So I want to do a little video review today. I keep saying tonight. It's today. Maybe it's tonight where you are. Still today here. And the reason I'm on early right now is because tonight we have, again, Juna Perkins. We're going to do it again. We replace John Conley. We're going to replace Helena Rafferty. She's resigning. We're in process of doing that one. The next one we're going to do, next two actually, is Chris Albert and Michael Morrissey, the district attorney. And tonight, part of that is what we're doing. We do the work. We start early. We're going to get Juna Perkins back on the show. She's running for Norfolk County DA, district attorney, against Michael Morrissey, the big man. We're going to unseat him. We're going to take him out next year. He's going to be unelected if he doesn't resign. 2026. She's coming on the show tonight. She's a very serious attorney. She's a former prosecutor. She did sex crimes. She's a private practice attorney right now. She's a very serious person. She's running for Norfolk County DA. She's going to be challenging Michael Morrissey. And she's got a campaign. She's collected donations. She's showing up to all the little town meetings, you know, the Democratic town committee meetings. She's been showing up to them. The parades. She's doing all that outreach right now. And it's going to be a long campaign. So I hope people are watching tonight. Check that out tonight at 6:30 with us. Juna Perkins for Norfolk County DA going to be on the show tonight. Tomorrow night, so that's tonight at 6:30. Tomorrow night, we have attorney Carl Steinbeck. He's going to be talking all about Karen Reed, all about the trial, all about what's been going on with these witnesses and the prosecution and the DAs. I can't wait to see what he has tomorrow night. So right now, let's do it. Let's get into this. This is what we're talking about. This show isn't just, we just don't cover the trials. We actually get involved in helping to bring change for the citizens. And specifically the ones who are in Norfolk County, the ones who are in Canton. We've been working, this show has been featuring them over and over and over again. People like Rita Lombardi. And their goal was to unseat some of these select board members. And they had a big win. They unseated the longest term select board member who had been there forever. And they replaced him with a phenomenal select board member, the new select board member, Susan Harrington. So that's a big win. And this show, we helped do that. We were covering it. We were having all over it. And we're going to do the same thing for Norfolk County DA. We need to replace Michael Morrissey. So I want to thank everybody who supports the show and watches it and shares it, because without you, it wouldn't happen. You made this happen. You made this happen. So I'm excited to be a part of it. I can't wait till tonight that we have Juna Perkins on. And I'm excited to see Chief Rafferty is now resigning, retiring, whatever she's doing. She's going to be gone. They're going to be looking for a new police chief. I love the discussion you're going to see at the select board meeting from private citizens who are already asking, who's next? Let's get somebody from the outside. Let's not get a second or third generation Canton police officer. Some phenomenal speeches. The Canton citizens are educated, they're informed, and they're vocal, and they're voting, and they're getting organized. And I'm really happy to be a part of it. And I'm really excited. I am. I'm pumped up because we're going to win this Karen Reed thing in the trial, and we're going to win with voters in the town of Canton and in Norfolk County. We're going to replace Michael Morrissey. So I'm excited to be a part of that. And you're a part of it. And it's an amazing thing to see. So let's bring it up. This is phenomenal. This has made me so happy to find out that this was going on while I have Betero on. This is what we missed. I was so happy. And I want to let me say a couple other things too. Canton Community TV.org. If you want to watch this whole thing or any of the Canton Select Board or anything going on in Canton, check out CantonCommunityTV.org and definitely support them. There was another citizen you're going to hear from this select board meeting who spoke out and supported Canton Community TV and wanted to make sure that Verizon funds them in the next contract because they are so important. And I 100% echo that. If you can support community TV, CantonCommunityTV.org, please do so. Please ask your local select board members to make sure they get a piece of the pie for Verizon and get the funding, because they are really the most important thing for transparency and finding out what's going on in the town of Canton with the select board. So cantoncommunitytv.org, you see it on the screen right there. I am so thankful for them, and I hope they should get even more money. That should be what it is. They should be asking for a raise. That's the only part of Canton that deserves a raise within the government infrastructure. All right, let's play it from them. They are so good.
All right, good evening and welcome to the April 22nd Select Board meeting. We'd like to point out that this meeting is being recorded and will be rebroadcast by Canton Community TV at a later date. Our Select Board clerk, Mr. Albert, is unable to attend tonight's meeting, so Ms. Boyden will be acting as our clerk tonight. Let's be patient with her. We have a couple of things before we start our meeting tonight. First, I wanted to inform the public that after meeting with Police Chief Rafferty, in careful consideration, the chief has chosen to retire from Canton Police. Folks, calm down. It's a business meeting, not a pep rally.
Wait.
On behalf of the Select Board and the residents of Canton, I thank the chief for her 36 years.
Did they mute that out? Did they mute that? Let me bring that back, because when I watched it earlier, I could hear the applause. Did they mute that, or is that me not hearing it? I'm going to play that again.
Folks,
they muted the applause. Oh,
folks, calm down.
Come on. Why did they mute the applause? That's not good.
Folks, calm down. It's a business meeting, not a pep rally. On behalf of the Select Board and the residents of Canton.
See, what happened there is as soon as they announced it, people started applauding. And the town must have asked for that to be removed from the audio. Oh, my God. Let's play that again. Watch this. This is...
Ms. Boyden will be acting as our clerk tonight. Let's be patient with her. We have a couple of things before we start our meeting tonight. First, I wanted to inform the public that after meeting with Police Chief Rafferty, in careful consideration, the chief has chosen to retire from Canton Police. Folks, calm down. It's a business meeting, not a pep rally. On behalf of the Select Board and the residents of Canton, I thank the chief for her 36 years of...
That is weird. Everyone else is saying in the chat is saying they can hear it. You can hear the applause. I don't know why I can't hear it. I'm going deaf. Well, I'm glad you can hear it. I'm glad they didn't edit it out. So they didn't edit out the applause. Okay, good.
Of service and dedication to our town and to the men and women of the Canton Police Department. I would also like to welcome our Fire Chief, Wendell Robery, and Firefighter John Buckley. Firefighter Buckley is here to receive a commendation for services rendered while off duty and out of town. If the board would briefly indulge me, I would like to read a letter from our Fire Chief. And hopefully I didn't delete it. There we go. Dear Select Board members, I would like to formally recognize Firefighter Buckley for his exceptional actions during a head-on collision that he came across on Pearl Street in Brockton on March 28, 2025, while he was off duty. Being the first on the scene, Firefighter Buckley encountered a critically injured driver who was pinned inside the driver's compartment of the vehicle and was found to have no pulse. Displaying incredible presence of mind and professionalism, Firefighter Buckley selflessly took immediate action by removing a section of the windshield to access the victim. He then began performing life-saving chest compressions from atop the vehicle's hood, providing critical care until the Brockton Fire Department arrived on scene. In the meantime, C6 was dispatched to intercept with Brewster Ambulance, with firefighters White, Harris, and Reardon providing support. The patient received 2 units of blood during transport and was successfully transported to Boston City Hospital. According to the latest report, the patient is now in stable condition thanks to the quick and effective response from all involved. Firefighter Buckley's dedication, skill, and prompt action undoubtedly played a significant role in the positive outcome of this incident. His efforts exemplify the highest standards of our profession, and I would like to express my sincere gratitude and recognition for his courageous response. This is a great effort by all involved. Sincerely, Wendell Robery, Fire Chief of Canton Police.
We're gonna stop it right there. It's weird. I can't hear the applause. I don't know why. It's weird. I can hear everything else in this video. That's very strange. But anyways, one thing I want to say, there was a comment about where was that? I just posted it on the screen. I guess I got more people in here than I thought. But about Trish Boyden. Someone said they noticed she seemed to be happy when they announced it. I think Trish has done a good job. You know, at times I've given her some criticism. I think I've been fair with her, but often she's stepped up. She's asked questions at the right time. Just the last select board meeting, I liked how she handled Chris Albert too. You can tell she wants to be friendly with him, but you know, professional courtesy being on the select board, but she's also not going to let that professional courtesy or even friendship get in the way of what's right for the Canton citizens. Like, she stood up and she asked them questions and said, you know, I think you should recuse yourself, is basically what her stance was. You could tell. So I think she's done a good job. And I think she's probably a big part of why this is happening right now with Susan Harrington as well. And I have a feeling all the select board members probably had some type of input. I think, or even Chief Rafferty just knew she knows the score. She knew this was not going to be easy now, especially with Susan Harrington being elected with such a strong number too. This wasn't like a close election. This was a blowout against a long time incumbent. So it's amazing to see. Let's play some more of this. I want to hear the citizens speak. Hopefully those aren't muted for me too. I don't know what's going on with that. You guys can hear it, but I can't hear the applause.
Firefighter Buckley, that was obviously a special moment because our vice chair was able to stand on his own. To salute you. So thank you, Chief Robery, for sending that along. Thank you to all of the members of Canton Fire that came out to support Firefighter Buckley.
I'm going to say that this is not the second meeting in a row that Chris has missed, because the last meeting he was there. Remember, Trish was asking him questions about recusing himself. It was the one before that. So out of the last 3 select board meetings, he's been there once. He's been out of the last 3 select board meetings, he's been there 1 out of 3 times. So he has missed 2. He's missed 2 out of the last 3.
Great job. All right. And now we will begin public comment portion. As I do each meeting, I will read the same statement. The public comment portion of the meeting is an opportunity to listen to residents' feedback and concerns. But the public comment portion of the meeting is not meant to be a question and answer format. There will be no response to any public comment when presented. The public comment portion of the meeting is limited to 15 minutes total and up to 3 minutes per speaker. Those that wish to speak should stand at the microphone and wait to be recognized by the chair.
I'm going to stop it right there. You know what's interesting, too, is this whole thing about how they don't respond to the public comment. I have noticed at times it seems like they do respond, but mostly they don't. And Chris Albert kind of had a hissy fit at the end of the last meeting, I think, about this very thing. And I think he kind of had a point, except that he just wants to respond and cry about things he doesn't agree with. But I think he does have a point, though, the fact that the select board should actually answer the public comment. Like if you're hearing the same concerns over and over again, you maybe might want to address them publicly. I kind of agree with Chris for once on something, just not on what should be addressed. You know, he wants to address all the petty shit about him, but I think they should kind of address what citizens are there concerned about. One thing I want to say, Gary Titus just dropped $9.99 in the super chat. I want to thank him so much. He says the silent majority has spoken, and I agree with that. That's exactly what has happened in Canton, and this is why change is underfoot here. This is why Susan Harrington is there. John Connolly's out. That's why Chief Helena Rafferty is moving on, because the silent majority has spoken. I also why I want to stop it here too is I have pinned in the chat. This is our email list, our website, our blog. It's Midnight Mass News, midnightmassnews.com. www. You got to put the www in there. .midnightmassnews.com. That's our email list, website, blog. Make sure you subscribe to that. Make sure you put your email. There's a couple different ways you can do it. You can do it for a paid prescription if you want to be extra generous to support us, or you can just do the free email. But put your email in there, especially if you're looking for Canton content. We just posted a story there earlier this week. There's going to be another one upcoming. Gary's actually one of the citizens quoted in it. And basically what this one is going to be is a bunch of Canton residents speaking up on what they think about the election of Susan Harrington. And Gary Titus and Dennis Sweeney, another guy who's in the chat, they're both quoted in it, as well as Rita Lombardi. So it's going to be a bunch of Canton residents, Canton citizens, speaking about what they think about their town and specifically the election of Susan Harrington. I'm going to have a lot more content there. So definitely, if you like Canton stuff, if you like following the Canton news that we do, and even the Karen Reed stuff, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you're following us. And again, just hit that link. It's pinned at the top of the chat right now. That one's coming out, I think probably tomorrow afternoon. That'll be the next story that goes up.
Please state your name and what town you live in. You do not need to give your address. I would ask that all members of our audience to be respectful of each speaker as well as each other. Anyone who does not wish to speak or who is unable to speak due to the time limit may submit their comments in writing for the board's review and consideration. So at 7:05, we will begin our public comment. And so we'll go to the left here.
Hi, my name is Christine Smith. I live at 50 Coppersmith Way in Canton. And I know later on the agenda, the board is going to vote on the Verizon contract. I did send a statement in earlier by email in support of that, but I just wanted to read it for the public record here. In support of the Verizon renewal of the contract and in support of Canton Community TV. I started the Canton Voter Guide in an effort to help inform Canton residents and voters about Canton's local elections. Together with the rest of the Voter Guide team, we decided to hold candidate forums as a means to further inform voters. Having Canton Community Television record, broadcast, and stream those forums is an essential part of providing information about candidates and our town elections to Canton voters. It is vital to Canton's civic engagement that Canton Community Television continue to receive funding from Verizon in any contract we renew. Thank you.
Thank you.
100% support.
Rita Lombardi.
All right, folks, all right.
Rita Lombardi. I just want to say how great it was to start the meeting this way. It just feels like a new beginning for us. I appreciate what Chief Rafferty has done over the decades. I know she's been there. Her father's been there. I appreciate the hard decision that she made, and I think it's the right decision for this town. And I think that we can now begin to move forward and look for a police chief that is going to help the team move forward out of this crisis that we've been in. And, you know, Chief Roberts and person tonight, the award Buckley, I think his name was, I'm sorry. That is the Canton Fire Department that I remember and that I have appreciated. That exemplifies the Canton Police Department that I know, and I know that we're capable of. So I just want to say it feels like a new beginning for us, and I'm happy for that. And really, let's work together and help us to be the best that we can be.
Oh, Rita.
Sir?
Hi, Jack Heine, Canton. I just want to say, talking about the police chief, it's time to bring in some new blood to this town. Not someone who is the son or grandson of a Canton police officer, but someone who will take their job seriously and bring experience from other towns or states. Bring in someone who will actually provide leadership and protect the citizens, the random citizens of this town. It's time to clean house. And thank you, and I congratulate that firefighter. He did a good job.
That was phenomenal. That was such a good, concise, very good speech, sir. Very good. On the mark, 100%.
Brenda Sweeney, Canton. I would just like to ask the board, when you're searching for this new chief, if you could find a way to keep the residents informed, because we've been on the edge of our seat for a long time, and we would really appreciate being informed of the process and know what's going on, so that we don't play all these guessing games and rumors don't
Sorry,
take
that wasn't
over
you.
when they really shouldn't. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda.
Nope.
All righty then. I just wanted to know if the new candidate could interview here like the rest of them did. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you.
I love they say no,
All
and
right,
Rita
any
just
additional
goes
public
anyway.
comment?
She laughs at them and then goes.
Seeing none?
That's what you do, Rita. I just love that. That was so good. She got up again because she thought of something else she said. She wanted to say there was more time left. They had plenty of more time. And Mike says, no. Like it just like total jerk. She laughs at them. And then she says her question. That was so good, Rita. I love that. That's how you do it. She like laughed. She literally laughed in their faces. Like, and then she asked her damn question.
We will start the meeting. Ms. Boyden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will read into record the legal advertisement of the notice that was published in April 3rd, 2025 and April 10th, 2025 editions of the Canton Citizen. Legal notice, Town of Canton Cable Television License Renewal Hearing. The Town of Canton Select Board, a statutory issuing authority for the grant of cable television license pursuant to Mass General Law 166A, will hold a public ascertainment hearing on Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025, on or after 7 p.m. in the Solemn Meeting Room, Memorial Hall, 801 Washington Street, Canton, Mass. The purpose of the hearing will be to consider the renewal of Verizon New England. The cable television license in Canton is part of the town's Verizon cable television license renewal process. The Verizon license is due to expire August 19th, 2027, and the Federal Cable Act 47, United States Code 540.
I'm gonna take a break on this, and I think we're gonna go back to Kerry. But I want to make sure, especially if Canton Community Television needs any help, we got to make sure that they get their money from Verizon. I definitely want an update on that one. I'm probably look into that. Maybe I'll ask Tim. Tim's a great guy. Canton Community Television deserves all the money. They deserve all the money. Like we wouldn't have all of this stuff that we bring to you from Canton. We need Canton Community Television. So I hope the citizens make sure that Verizon pays up. I need a drink of water. Hold on a second. I still got those allergies. It's still bugging me. Getting bad, but I'm on the meds. I'm feeling better though. Not too bad. I can do a show. All right, Greg. Thank you so much. Greg says, "Sure, take your pension. I don't care. Just leave." Exactly. She's retiring. She says she's retiring. I wouldn't doubt if she tries to get on somewhere else. Hello, friends. Thank you, Mike. Pound said Rafferty. That's from the petty paralegal. And again, I want to thank Gary. He's a local Canton resident. He's a DJ. He's well known, well liked. Thank you so much, Gary. And he's going to be quoted again in the next story that we have coming up on midnightmassnews.com. Make sure you're subscribed. It's pinned at the top of the chat. gonna have another story about Canton coming out. A lot more coverage over there. Yeah, where is Chris Albert? I'd love to know where Chris Albert. He's in hiding. I mean, does he have pizza emergencies like every 2 out of 3 meetings, or is it family emergencies? What's the excuse he has? Yeah, Verizon. We'll be good with Verizon if they cough up the money. They gotta cough up. Give them a raise. Canton Community Television, all the coverage that they've been doing from court, all the select board meetings, they're phenomenal. They are so good. All right, let's go. Let's check out Kerry. I want to read something actually. I want to make sure I read this. This is phenomenal. Let me read this. Hold on. Where is it? I lost it. Hold on 1 second. All right, this is Alan Jackson asking Kerry Roberts on the stand. He says, the timeline you wrote with Jennifer McCabe's help influenced your testimony to testify in front of a grand jury to a statement that you never heard. Correct? Kerry Roberts responds, correct. I mean that that's wild. Let's play some of this.
In behind her, period. When we get out, and Karen is now showing us the back of the car saying, my taillight, do you think I hit him? Do you think I hit him? Oh my God, do you guys think I hit him? Question mark. End quote. Is that how you testified?
May I see it?
Sure.
May I see it? Lots of questions. Not sure how she testified. The fact her and Jen should have been doing more comparing notes from last testimony. I don't know. I want to thank Unapologetically Authentic, who says, who else thinks Jen's watching the trial? Of course Jen's watching the trial. Jen is in control of everything. Of course Jen is watching the trial. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I want to know how quickly Jen McCabe was on the phone with Kerry Roberts after she got off the stand.
I apologize, I've already got it up here.
Does it have a date on it, Mr. Jackson?
It does. (4/26/22). May I approach?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I just got a comment too about Mazza again. People keep asking about Mazza. Oh man, I wish I could just say what I know, but it's not the biggest deal. People would need to, like I've said this in the past, people need to give him his space, like support him and just give him space. There's something going on in his life you can't talk about. That's about it. It's not that serious. It's not what you probably fear. Nothing like that. Just sometimes we have things going on in our lives that and he may be back. There may be even a chance he may be back. I don't know. We'll see. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but I'm going to be doing a show this weekend. I would not surprise if he even comes back. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'm talking too much, but just the thing on Mazza, like just let it be. You can miss him. I miss him. I'm definitely missing Mazza. Just tell him you miss him and you love him and you support him and whatever he's going through, you support him. That's it, right? That's all you need to know. I guess all you need to know is that the best way to support him is just to say, "We miss you and love you, Mazza." That's it. Don't ask any questions. When he's ready to talk about it, he'll talk about it.
Do you have the
He's still
pages
on
after
Twitter.
this?
And you can still talk to Mazza. Like people are like, what happened to Mazza? He's still there. He's still on Twitter. We still talk to him. Still privately reach out to him and ask him yourself. Best thing to do is not to talk a lot about it online.
I'm sure I do.
Because in the pages after this, I say,
My question, Ms. Roberts, is that a quote that I just said, is that accurate? Do you see it in the,
yes, it is.
okay. May I approach?
Yes.
Maz is even in the chats a lot. He was there the other night when we had Better on.
Your Honor, may I approach
Yes.
one more time? Hey, just for reference, I'm going to show you both pages. That's the page I asked you to look at, and then the following page as well. Please take your time.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it is. We did bring enough chicken wings. You know how to get to Mazza. That's love to Mazza. You show up with a bucket of chicken wings.
What I'm looking for is still not here, because I did say I wasn't sure if it was
Yes.
before or after.
Ms. Roberts, you do have to wait for the question.
When you gave this testimony, you were in front of a grand jury, correct?
I'm not sure which one that is.
Do you remember testifying in front of a grand jury on April 26th, 2022?
Yes,
Okay, about 2 years ago.
yes,
3 years ago. You were under oath at the time. Is that right?
yes,
Things were fresher in your mind at that time than they are now, 3.5 years later, I'm guessing, correct?
yes,
Okay. You were asked the question to describe the circumstance when you arrived at One Meadows. Is that right?
yes,
And the answer that you gave was, quote, "We pulled into it's a driveway, there's 2 cars, and then 2 cars, then a single, so John's car is there. Karen pulls in, and I pull in behind her. When we get out, and Karen is now showing us the back of the back of the car, saying, 'My taillight, do you think I hit him? Do you think I hit him? Oh my God, do you guys think I hit him?'" That was your testimony at the time, correct?
yes.
And just to be clear, I'd like to take a look at a quick video that you may or may not have seen before. We'll find out. Your Honor, I'd like to have this. Actually, this has already been previously marked as Exhibit 12C as in Charlie,
Okay.
and it's a short clip. So I'll play the entire clip with the court's permission.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and take a look at that video. Can you pause? Do you recognize what's depicted in the video?
Yeah, that's when we arrived at John's house.
Okay. And who's the person with the plaid red pants?
That is Jen.
And who's the person that's just rounding the back of the car in front?
That is Karen.
What is the car in front?
That's Karen's SUV.
That's the Lexus SUV.
Yes, it is.
Behind that Lexus SUV, Ms. Roberts, is there another car?
That's my car.
And who's getting out of that car?
I am.
Okay. And this is the point that you were describing in your, at least in the grand jury testimony at that time.
Yes.
This is the time that you're describing.
That I thought it was when we walked in.
This is the time that you were describing, right? When you arrive at the scene.
Yes.
Or, arrive at One Meadows.
Yes.
Okay, let's go ahead and play this through. Okay, you can stop it. And you can bring the lights up. You saw the interaction between all three of you and the vehicles, correct?
Yep.
At any point, did anybody stop and take a look at the taillight or the rear end of the car?
Not when we were entering the house like I thought, but when we came out.
Okay. And there's no video of that?
I'm sorry?
There's no video of that?
No, I don't believe so.
Right. So the video that does exist describes nearly exactly the time that you testified that y'all stopped at the back of the taillight and Karen said, look, my taillight's broken. Oh my God, do you think I hit him?
Correct.
Right? Okay. And that obviously was incorrect.
It was incorrect.
So your memory was faulty about that incident, that part of that incident at least.
It happened on the way out of the house.
So your memory was faulty about that part of the incident that you testified to at the grand jury.
Yes.
Okay. You were interviewed
Oh,
on January 29th. You've already testified to that, correct? By
Yes.
Troopers Dunn and
you could tell how nervous she is. I mean, just look at her here. You know, she's kind of, where is this going? Where? And then he pauses. There's so many moments like this where you can tell she's just like, gulp. Oh no, I'm screwed.
my memory's failing me now.
There were two. I don't know who they were.
Okay, I'm sure it's in my notes somewhere. Two individuals that interviewed you on January 29th, correct?
Yes.
Obviously, things were very, very fresh in your mind at that point.
Yes, but I believe I was in shock. So,
The incident had just happened.
yes.
Okay, and you were asked to recount certain of the specifics about the incident that you had just experienced, not days or weeks, but just hours before, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you did your best, I'm sure, Ms. Roberts, to be as full-throated as possible, to provide them with as much detailed information as you could, and to be as honest as you could.
All right, I try not to pause this all the time. I'm actually going to take a quick little jump out of here and let it play more because this is a really good part. But I also wanted to mention that if you didn't get a chance, you should check out the Howie Carr. The Howie Carr columns in the Boston Herald this week. He's been knocking it out of the park. Out of the park. He's been knocking it out of Fenway Park every single day, basically. He's been doing a column about this trial. And some of the columns he's done are phenomenal. You should definitely check them out. A lot of them have been getting reposted an entire, their entire column as like a JPEG photo on Twitter and Facebook and other places because they're so good. They are behind a paywall, but you can find them, bostonherald.com, or I think he's got a website too that he posts them up on too. But he's done phenomenal work this week and just very thankful for Howie Carr and his columns covering this. He had a great column about how bad these opening witnesses are, how terrible. This is the best they got, the opening witnesses from Hank Brennan. And this is the best you got, someone who can't even keep the story straight, who just basically admits that they're a puppet for Jen McCabe, that they created a timeline with Jen McCabe, that Jen McCabe talked to her that morning. It's so bad that the judge ended up calling this witness Jen McCabe at the end. Thank you so much for coming, Miss McCabe. I mean, Kerry. Howie's been destroying it. Very good job. Thank you so much to Howie Carr and the Boston Herald.
Yes.
I mean, you weren't going to lie to these police officers, right?
No.
In your very first conversation with those two troopers on January 29th, you didn't mention anything about a taillight or a cracked taillight, or
No,
even
I did
having
not.
seen a cracked taillight, did you?
No, I did not.
Okay.
I
You
didn't
then-
want to accuse anybody of anything.
You were then interviewed on February 1st, 2022, a few days later, correct?
I don't know.
Does that
I don't
sound
know the
right?
exact date. I was interviewed again, but I don't know the exact date.
Okay. During your interview, let me withdraw that and ask a different question. On February 1st, or whatever day it was, the subsequent time that you were interviewed just a few days later, you did then, for the first time, describe the taillight that you saw.
Yeah, this is a perfect comment. I said I wasn't going to comment much more. This might be it for a little while. Amanda said she looked like she had been unwittingly manipulated by Jen. Yeah, brainwashed. That's what they did to a lot of these witnesses, even the first responders. I mean, that's basically what this is. It's an influence campaign. And the weak ones, like a Kerry, who just wants to please everyone, who's a talker, she's easily influenced, and she's duped, and she doesn't even realize she's basically what we would call, especially if you're like, into street culture and back in the day, she'd be called a sucker. A sucker. And in the wrestling, in the pro wrestling biz, they call her a mark, an easy mark. In this, the circus, there's a sucker born every day. That's what she is. And I think Jackson proved it. Jackson drove it home in her testimony. I just hope that the jury is paying attention. I mean, that's the big question on this. We have all these high paid attorneys and legal experts come on the show, and they tell us how good the defense is doing here and how there's no way Karen Reed can be convicted. But in the end, you never know. It depends on who's on that actual jury. That's the problem in this with justice, especially when you have a judge that is so biased against you. You wonder, will a weak jury, if there's a jury full of Kerry Roberts, if it's all like people like Kerry Roberts on that jury, she's going to be found guilty. That's what I'm afraid of. Because all it takes is one or two who are very strong on the jury to influence the weaker sheep. That's what happens a lot. That's how crowds are influenced too. It's like the strongest personality, they rule over the weak ones, the sheep. And I think that Kerry, it's very obvious she's a follower. She's not a leader. She's not the leader of the pack. And that she was heavily influenced by Jen McCabe, who went over the timeline with her. All right, I'm gonna step back now. I think I said all. I think we all know this. I think we all agree on what we saw, right?
Correct?
I don't know.
Would it refresh your recollection if you looked at a report?
Yes, please.
Okay. If I may have just a moment, Your Honor.
Sure.
May I approach?
Yes.
Handing you a 2-page report, Ms. Roberts. I put a little dot on the second page just to direct your attention to the discussion related to the taillight. If you want to take a look at that.
Okay.
Okay. May I?
Yes.
Does that refresh your recollection that you were interviewed on February 1st, 2022 by a trooper by the name of Connor Keefe, and a trooper by the name of Kathleen Prince.
Yes. Did Connor Keefe write that report?
I'm sorry?
Did Connor Keefe write that report?
Trooper Kathleen Prince wrote the report.
Okay.
Does that matter? No?
Nope.
Okay. Does that refresh your recollection that you did discuss the taillight at that time?
Yes.
And did you tell Trooper Prince and Trooper Keefe that you noticed the back right taillight in the middle, quote, in the middle, your words, was broken and a piece of the metal encasement was pushed forward?
Yes.
Okay. You didn't say that the taillight was completely shattered, correct?
Correct.
You didn't say that the entire lens was missing, correct?
Correct.
You said it was broken in the middle. Is that
Yes.
right? And then you described today that a square piece was missing.
Yes. That's the piece I was referring to in the
Okay.
middle.
Just in the middle of the taillight, though. That was how you described it.
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to shift gears for a quick second and talk about a March 7th, 2023 text message with victim witness advocate Steve Nelson. Do you remember communicating? You don't have to know the exact date, but if you do, fine. Do you remember communicating in March of 2023 with victim witness advocate Steve Nelson about the Ring camera at One Meadows?
I don't know the exact date, but yes.
Okay. Is it true that you contacted him to inform him that the O'Keefes needed to replace or wanted to replace the driveway Ring camera, that same Ring camera that we just literally saw through that perspective
Yes.
of you arriving?
Yes.
Did Mr. Nelson indicate that he believed that would be fine to replace that Ring camera if the O'Keefes wished to do that?
I don't remember if he said it would be fine, but at some point they were told they could replace it. It had broken. It wasn't working.
Did he indicate that he would check with DDA Adam Lally and then get back to you?
I don't know.
At some point, you were informed that the O'Keefes had the green light or the go-ahead to replace that Ring camera at One Meadows. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And then ultimately, you then relayed that to the O'Keefes that they had the green light. You've talked to somebody at the DA's office, and they said, yeah, go ahead and replace the camera, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever receive any kind of response from the DA's office either before or after you relayed this information to the O'Keefes to say, wait, hold on, we need to do a reconstruction, we need to make sure that the camera is in the exact same spot that it was at the time of the incident?
No.
Any communication like that?
No.
So the communication that you got was, yep, go ahead and replace it, it's no big deal.
Correct.
Okay. And ultimately, you learned that the O'Keefes did, in fact, replace that Ring camera.
Correct.
You have already described your relationship, at least in part, with Canton Police Officer Sergeant Michael Lang, correct?
Yes.
He is friends with you.
His daughter is friends with my daughter.
You're friendly with the family.
Yes.
Okay. And you're aware that he's also friends with the Albert family.
No. Well, no,
Were you aware that Michael Lang grew up with Chris Albert?
I was not.
Have you ever been in a social setting with both the Lanks and the Alberts?
No.
You're aware, obviously, you were at the scene. He was the first officer to respond to the crime scene at 34 Fairview on January 29th after Officer Seraph and after Mulaney arrived. Right? Then it was Sergeant Lank.
I don't know which order. I did see Sergeant Lank there, yes.
Was he the, excuse me a second. Oh, I was just reminded, you indicated that you don't remember the date of that text communication between yourself and Mr. Nelson.
No, I don't remember the date.
Would it refresh your recollection if you looked at a text message between the two of you about the subject of the Ring camera?
Sure.
Okay.
Do I need to know the date?
May I approach? I need to know the date.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Is it March 7th, 2023?
Does that refresh your recollection?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Ron. You indicated that you did recognize Sergeant Lank at the scene.
Yes, I did.
You had a conversation with him.
No, I said, Mike, is that you? He said yes, and that was it.
All right. Following that, the next day, you did go to his house. You've already described that.
I did.
You indicated that you went to his house to drop off your daughter for a play date. Is that right?
Yes.
But
And
you
she
also
was
indicated that you took Jennifer McCabe with you.
Yes, because I drove Jen McCabe to the O'Keefe's house, so she was leaving to go home with me. So I was
So-
going to drop her off.
Okay, so your memory is you took Miss McCabe from where over to the Lanks house?
I think she was at home.
So you picked her up
Yes,
at her house
yes.
with anybody else?
With my daughter, my son. I picked up her and either one or two of her daughters, I don't remember.
And then you drove over to the Lanks house, is that right?
No, I drove to the O'Keefe's house.
First.
Yes.
And what did you do with the O'Keefe's
Then
house?
left a couple of kids, and my daughter wanted to go to the Lanks house, so I drove my daughter to the Lanks house before driving home.
And Jen's child was with you on the way from Jen's house over to the O'Keefe's house?
Yes, one or two daughters, I don't know,
Dropped the one or two kids off at the O'Keefe's, is that right?
as well as my son.
As well as your son. Then you went to drop off your daughter for the play date.
Well, she was 13, so it wasn't a play date.
Whatever, I don't know what you call it.
I know.
I don't have a 13-year-old. What a date, whatever
Yeah,
it is.
so she went over to her friend's house, yes.
Okay. But you took Jennifer McCabe with you
Yes, because I was driving her home.
back to her house without her kids?
Yes, she was going home.
Were you going to go back to the O'Keefe's and pick up her kids and then take all of them home?
I didn't have a plan. I mean, Patrick,
Okay.
nephew, is my son's best friend.
Got it.
So he wanted to be with him.
Okay. Did you, I think you just answered this, but I want to make sure I'm clear about it. You didn't take separate cars. You all went in the same car, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Did anybody stop by or go by 34 Fairview during that roundabout?
No,
Nobody stopped off at 34 Fairview either on the way or on the way back?
no. I don't believe so. That wouldn't be the route in which to get to my house.
Right, exactly. You indicated that you stayed, even though you were dropping off your daughter, y'all stayed, you and Miss McCabe stayed at Sergeant Lank's house for some 45 minutes. Does that sound about right?
Yeah,
And Sergeant Lank's wife, you indicated was in the back seat of your car?
yes.
Did y'all ever go inside the house?
Jen went in to go to the bathroom.
Was Sergeant Lank there?
I don't know. I didn't go in.
You didn't have any communications with Sergeant Lank?
I'm sorry?
You didn't have any communications with Sergeant Lank himself, Mike Lank, on that trip?
No, I did not.
But you don't know whether or not Jen did?
I don't know whether or not Jen did. She went in the house to go to the bathroom.
Okay. You've indicated that there have been occurrences in which Jennifer McCabe has asked you to contact the DA's office on her behalf to ask a question here or there, get some information, correct?
To Steve Nelson, yes.
Okay. How many times, just the number of times, volume, would you say that Ms. McCabe has asked you to reach out to the DA's office in one particular or another on her behalf?
I don't think very many.
What does that mean? Of the 50 times that you've had
No,
communications?
maybe like 4, not many, to my knowledge.
When you would, on these 4 occasions or 4 or so occasions, when you would reach out to the DA's office, gather information, whatever that information may be, would you then report that information back to Ms. McCabe?
Yes,
You obviously understand the importance of providing statements to law enforcement that are free of influence of other people, other witnesses. Is that right?
say it again?
You understand the importance of providing information to law enforcement as a witness to law enforcement, free of influence from other people?
Yeah,
In other words, you want to be as accurate and as independent as possible.
yes.
And that's because if your statement is somehow, or if your communications with law enforcement are somehow influenced by others, it might call into question the credibility of the person providing the statement. Objection.
Can you answer that question, Ms. Roberts?
No.
Okay, next question.
Sure. A statement that's been colored by influence from someone else would lack credibility, right? Objection.
Sustained.
I want to talk about the statements in the prior testimony that you have provided in this case, Ms. Roberts. There's been several of them. The first time you told your story to law enforcement was on January 29th. We've already established that, correct?
Say that again?
It was on January 29th, the first time you relayed your story to law enforcement.
Yes.
And that was to Trooper Dunn and Trooper DeChico. That's the name I couldn't remember.
I don't remember.
But you do remember Trooper Dunn.
I remember 2 troopers. I don't know their name.
Okay. Where did that interview take place?
In my dining room.
And who was with you when you gave that interview, if anybody?
My husband was home. I think my daughter was home at that point. My husband was home. I don't know if the kids were home.
Nobody else from outside the family?
No.
Okay. Who contacted you about doing that interview? How did they know to come to you at your home?
I don't remember. They may have just shown up. I don't remember.
Okay. Do you remember what time the interview was?
Maybe around dinner time, maybe around 5, 6.
Was it recorded?
I'm sorry?
Was it recorded in any way? Tape
I don't-
recorder running?
I don't think so.
The troopers were taking notes, obviously.
I believe so.
During your conversation with, and I'm jumping around a bit, so I apologize. During your conversation or conversations with Mr. Brennan and the DA's, members of the DA's office in preparation for your testimony, were any of those interviews recorded?
No.
Was anybody taking notes?
No.
No, none of the DAs were actually taking notes, the ADAs?
I didn't look around the table to see if anyone was taking notes, but I didn't see them taking notes.
No pads and pens on the table?
There was a lot of stuff on the table, but I didn't see anybody taking notes.
Okay. You received a phone call just before that interview started at 5:25 p.m., correct?
Around 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Is this the night of the 29th, you mean?
This is the night of, I'm jumping back to the night of the 29th.
Yeah, I'm not following you very well.
That's okay. On the 29th,
Yeah.
when you were interviewed around 5:25 p.m., maybe just a little bit before that,
Yeah.
you received a phone call just before that, correct?
I do not know.
Isn't it true that Jen McCabe called you and spoke to you just before that?
I spoke to Jen McCabe the entire day.
Okay. Including just before that interview.
I don't know.
Did you tell Jen McCabe that you were about to be interviewed?
No.
Did you tell her at some point did you text her and tell her that the officers had arrived?
I don't think so.
Did she text you back and say, call me right after?
I don't know.
Okay. During the course of that interview, when the incident was still pretty fresh in your mind, you indicated that at about 5 a.m. you got a call from Karen Reed indicating that John never came home and that she was worried, correct?
Correct.
You also indicated that she was worried that John may be walking and may have gotten hit by a plow. You relayed that to the officers.
Yes.
You indicated that you met up with Karen Reed and Jennifer McCabe at Jennifer McCabe's house, and Karen was hysterical and worried that something had happened to John.
Yes.
You also indicated that once you were at 34 Fairview, once y'all had made your way over to 34 Fairview, Karen saw John and ran to him, although you and Jennifer didn't see him initially, correct?
That's correct.
You said that Karen was repeating the phrase, is he dead, over and over. Is that right?
That is correct.
You also indicated that she said that if anything happened to John, she'd kill herself, correct?
That's what she said to me.
Object.
So the objection sustained.
Did you indicate at any time, I'm sorry, let me ask it a different way. Did either of the troopers indicate to you after your initial interview that If there was anything further that you could recall that would be useful, please provide it. Please give it to him at that time.
I don't know.
Okay. Would it refresh your recollection to look at that January 29th report?
Sure. Thank you.
Show the second page of that report, January 29th. And there, I put a little mark by paragraph 5. You could take a look at that.
Okay.
May I?
Yes.
During this interview with Trooper Dunn and Trooper DeChico, they indicated after you gave your statement that if you wish to provide anything additional, now's the time to do it.
Objection.
that right?
Sustained.
Were you informed that you were limited on time in that interview? Meaning, we got to get this done, we're leaving, we're out of time.
No.
They didn't cut you off, correct?
No.
They didn't tell you that they had a limited amount of information that they wanted and then they were just going to leave, correct?
I don't remember. I don't recall.
As a matter of fact, they told you that anything you wanted to provide to them, provide it. Give them as much detail as you could, correct?
I don't recall.
You just read the last statement that these troopers indicated, correct? If there's anything further she could recall that would be useful, please provide that information.
Object. Sustained.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Yes.
May I?
Yes.
Thank you. Having looked at the
No,
report,
no, bring it to her and show it to her again.
she's just, it's the same thing that I just showed her. Having looked at the report, does that refresh your recollection about what Trooper Dunn and DeChico told you at the end of the interview?
I don't recall. It's not refreshing. I'm not remembering it. Even reading it, I'm not remembering it.
I see. Okay, fair enough. So as you sit here, the details about what you told or what those two officers told you are not fresh in your mind, and nothing's refreshing your recollection about that.
Right.
Okay, but you do remember the basics of what I just described in that conversation with those two troopers.
I mean, they asked me what happened. I told them, but I was also in shock.
You never said during the course of that interview that my client called you at 5 o'clock in the morning, just hours earlier, and said he's dead and then hung up, correct?
No, I don't believe I said it at that point. I did not remember that until a couple of days later.
I see. And in fact, when you were asked about that particular statement, when you asked about that particular series of events, that never came to your mind.
No.
That literally the first words out of Karen Reed's mouth, according to you now, is he's dead and then hung up.
Correct.
When you heard that, you didn't take that to mean that she killed him.
No.
Of course not. She was panicked, correct?
Yes.
You did add that, one other thing that you didn't add in your initial statement to Trooper Dunn and Trooper DeChico is anything about the taillight either, correct?
Not.
Okay. And you also didn't say anything about any sort of a Google search or the praying that you talked about in the back of the patrol car, anything like that?
No. I don't know. I don't remember.
The second time you were interviewed, that was the February 1st interview. That was with Kathleen Prince and Connor Keith, correct? And you just looked at that report, at least part of that report. Is that right?
Say it again?
Connor Keith and Kathleen Prince, that was on February 1st, 3 days after your initial statement, correct?
I don't remember the date, but I remember meeting with them.
Okay. I want to make sure I get the dates down, so I'm sorry to belabor this, but. May I approach?
Yes.
Would it refresh your recollection if you would look at the report of that interview?
It might.
Okay. First paragraph.
Thanks. Am I reading the whole thing or just the part where you dotted?
Just if it refreshes your recollection
Oh.
of the dates.
Oh, for the date, yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
What date was it that you met with me?
February 1st.
That second interview was conducted at 12 Country Lane, correct?
Yes.
And who again lives at 12 Country Lane?
Jennifer McCabe.
So the second time you told your memory, your story to law enforcement, you were literally sitting in Jennifer McCabe's house.
Yes.
And you had met with Jennifer McCabe before your interview, correct?
Yes. We were putting a timeline together.
So you two were actually prepping, if that's a valid term, prepping for your interview, putting a timeline together, correct?
We were putting a timeline together at the request of Mrs. O'Keefe.
And Jennifer McCabe, was helping you with the timeline, and you were helping her with the timeline.
Yes, we were putting together the events of what had happened.
So she was helping you, and you were helping her, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. So both of you were assisting in each other's memories, correct?
Yes.
I remember this, and you remember this, and okay, now I remember this, correct?
Yep.
Obviously, that would help influence your memory, going
Yes.
over the event with someone else, correct?
Yep.
So what's on that timeline, you would agree, is not completely independent, your memory. It's a combination of your memory and Jennifer McCabe's memory. Isn't that right?
Yes.
May I have just a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
Oh. She gets very nervous, you can tell. Every time he takes a break.
Thank you, Your Honor. So the two of you drew out some sort of a timeline for you to follow during the course of that interview. Is that right?
For me to follow what?
During the course of that February 1st interview, as you were interviewed in Ms. McCabe's house. I mean, that was the purpose of the timeline, to help you with that interview?
For me to follow what? That was if you have an intelligent jury that's paying attention, this is devastating right here. The whole thing coming up with a timeline. She's following Jackson right now, just like she follows Jen McCabe. Following. She's a follower. If you have an intelligent jury, that's the question. We don't know. We don't know what type of jury this is going to be.
No, that wasn't the purpose of the timeline.
You used it for that purpose, though, obviously.
We did not. I was at Jen's house making a timeline, and the two officers showed up to interview her. I just happened to be there.
Right. And when they interviewed you, did you have that timeline in front?
I just happened to be there while the cops just showed up where we just happened to be together making up our timeline. That's not suspicious at all. Who comes up with a timeline?
front of you? That's my question.
No, I did not.
Okay, but you had just created it along with Jennifer McCabe.
Some of it.
Okay. And then it was after that that this timeline was coordinated between the two of you, that you actually told your second story to Trooper Prince. And when I say second story, I mean as the second time you were interviewed on February 1st as opposed to January 29th. Is that right?
Yes.
Did you ever become aware of text messages that Jennifer McCabe was sending to others in a group chat talking about you in that interview?
No.
You were never told or became aware that she sent text messages to a group as she listened in on your interview?
No. I don't think she could listen in. She wasn't anywhere near me.
You weren't aware that or are you aware as you sit here that she sent a text message that said she's telling them everything, all the stuff?
Sustained.
Have you ever been provided a text message or told about a text message that perhaps Jennifer McCabe was sending to a group?
No.
Listening to your suggesting that she was listening to your interview?
No.
He's telling them everything. This is so good by Jackson. This is so good. Now inserting that Jen is not only coordinating the timeline with Kerry, she's also texting people within a group about what Kerry's doing. And Kerry doesn't seem very concerned, does she? That just helps to Jackson. That just helps the defense here. Kerry doesn't seem to be concerned that Jen is so on top of what Kerry's actually doing with the police right now. Who does that? This is like reminds me of like mob stories or mafia stories that you see out there. That's the only instance I think of that would take the actions of what Jen McCabe is doing in this situation. People who want to control a narrative so they don't go to the big house, the criminals, right?
The third time you told your story was later that night in a telephonic interview. Is that right? With Trooper Proctor?
I requested to speak to Trooper Proctor because I had remembered the very first time I spoke with Karen that morning, and I wanted to make sure it was recorded.
Okay, that wasn't my question. My question was, did you have another telephonic conversation?
I had remembered. That's not what I asked. That's not what I asked, Jackson says. That's not the question. Let's get back to the question. I had remembered.
No.
You said that night, but it wasn't that night.
When was it?
I think it was earlier that day.
Okay. Meaning, but it was after the interview with Trooper Prince.
I don't think so.
Think it was beforehand?
I think it was beforehand.
You were still with Jennifer McCabe when that call took place, correct?
I was in her house. I was not with her. I stepped away to speak to him by myself.
In her home at 12 Country Lane.
Correct.
Who else was with you other than Jennifer McCabe in the house?
Her sister was there writing down the timeline for
Who's
us.
that?
Her sister, Denise.
Denise? So she was scribing the timeline as you and Jennifer.
So Denise was the secretary in this witness meeting so they could get their timelines together. I wonder if Denise Galvin's going to be on the stand now. Do you think they should add Denise Galvin? I don't think she was a witness. I think they might want to add Denise Galvin now. Yeah, she's the timeline scribe. Denise Galvin, the timeline scribe. That's Jen's sister. Yeah, put Denise on the stand. Absolutely. You think she's on? Okay. Yeah, I think the defense is going to be calling her. Yeah, she's charming, just like Jen. Yeah, she's very charming. She's got a face for the cameras. Denise Scribe. Yeah, can we seize those notes? Can we subpoena those notes? We want the notes. We want the notes from that witness meeting.
McCabe were creating
She
it?
was writing it down as we were remembering things.
Right. and the three of you were doing this together, sort of communally.
Yes.
She would say something, then you would say something, then it would spark something that she would say.
It sounds like a brainstorming session. Get our stories right. Let's get this together. Unbelievable. This is totally fine though. This is Norfolk County. Anything goes. We get our timelines together. We're fine. Yeah. 3 people working on a timeline. Yeah, we do. We want the paper copies. We want the timeline. We FOIA that? Yeah, the colluding, right? Colluding. Give us Denise. Stacy, give us Denise. Give us Denise. Oh, yeah. Denise Weeks Galvin, yeah. Give us Denise. That was a good one. I'm just oh, man.
Say, and back and forth, correct?
Yes.
How is it that Trooper Proctor got a hold of you? Did you call him or did he call you?
I think he was on the phone with Jen, and I asked to speak to him.
So Trooper Proctor got a hold of you through talking to Jen McCabe.
Well, I asked to speak to him, but yes.
Right. Was that interview recorded, to your knowledge?
I don't know.
The fourth time you met with police was February 2nd, the very next day, at about 12:08 p.m. Is that right?
I don't remember.
Do you remember signing a consent form for your phone?
Yes.
Was that the next day after this interview with Trooper Prince and Trooper
I don't know
Keith?
what day it was. It was right after Karen was arraigned for the first time. Jen and I met with them and both handed our phones over willingly.
So you've just answered my question. So when you met with police, whatever the date was, it was a few days later, you met with police. You had a fourth time, you were still in the presence of Jennifer McCabe when you met with police.
Yes.
And handed your phone over, is that right?
Yes.
She handed her phone over, is that right?
Yes.
And the two of you were together when you signed your consent forms, is that right?
Yes.
The fifth time you told your story was in front of a grand jury, is that right?
I don't know.
Do you remember testifying in front of a grand jury?
I do.
Okay, let's talk about that for a second. Before you testified at that grand jury, just physically, you were brought into an anteroom where you waited to be called by ADA Adam Lowley, correct?
Yes.
Who was in that anteroom with you just before you gave your testimony?
My husband and Jen and Matt McCabe.
So Jennifer McCabe was with you yet again. Just before you gave official testimony under oath.
I never go anywhere without Jen.
Correct.
Ms. Roberts, when was the last time you've spoken to Jennifer McCabe before you testified in this trial?
In this morning.
This morning. Can you believe that? This is Jackson. He didn't know the answer to that. That was such a great question that he asked, and to not even know and to get that response this morning. And she's with Jen over and over, and Jen's her handler. I mean, that was so obvious in this. Look at her. She knows look at that.
Did you discuss your testimony?
No.
So
Let's bring that back a little bit. Hold on 1 second. Let's bring that back. I think I might have.
Listening to your suggesting that she was listening to your interview?
No.
The third time you told your story was later that night in a telephonic interview. Is that right? With Trooper Proctor?
I requested to speak to Trooper Proctor because I had remembered the very first time I spoke with Karen that morning, and I wanted to make sure it was recorded.
Okay, that wasn't my question. My question was, did you have another telephonic conversation with Trooper Proctor, yes or no?
You said that night, but it wasn't that night.
When was it?
I think it was earlier that day.
Okay. Meaning, but it was after the interview with Trooper Prince.
I don't think so.
think it was beforehand?
I think it was beforehand.
You were still with Jennifer McCabe when that call took place, correct?
I was in her house. I was not with her. I stepped away to speak to him by myself.
In her home at 12 Country Lane.
Correct.
Who else was with you other than Jennifer McCabe in the house?
Her sister was there writing down the timeline for
Who's
us.
that?
Her sister, Denise.
Denise? So she was scribing the timeline as you and Jennifer McCabe were creating it?
She was writing it down as we were remembering things.
Right. And the three of you were doing this together, sort of communally.
Yes.
She would say something, then you would say something, then it would spark something that she would say, and back and forth, correct?
Yes.
You remembered after Jen McCabe told me. She remembered. I had remembered because Jen McCabe told me. I remembered. So funny. This went so well. If we have an intelligent jury, it went well.
How is it that Trooper Proctor got a hold of you? Did you call him or did he call you?
I think he was on the phone with Jen and I asked to speak to him.
So Trooper Proctor got a hold of you through talking to Jen McCabe.
Well, I asked to speak to him, but yes.
Right. Was that interview recorded, to your knowledge?
I don't know.
The fourth time you met with police was February 2nd, the very next day, at about 12:08 p.m. Is that right?
I don't remember.
Do you remember signing a consent form for your phone?
Yes.
Was that the next day after this interview with Trooper Prince and Trooper
I don't know
Keith?
what day it was. It was right after Karen was arraigned for the first time. Jen and I met with them and both handed our phones over willingly.
So you just answered my question. So when you met with police, whatever the date was, it was a few days later, you met with police. You had a fourth time, you were still in the presence of Jennifer McCabe when you met with police.
Yes.
And handed your phone over, is that right?
Yes.
She handed her phone over, is that right?
Yes.
And the two of you were together when you signed your consent forms, is that right?
Yes.
The fifth time you told your story was in front of a grand jury, is that right?
I don't know.
Do you remember testifying in front of a grand jury?
I do.
Okay, let's talk about that for a second. Before you testified at that grand jury, just physically, you were brought into an anteroom where you waited to be called by ADA Adam Lally, correct?
Yes.
Who was in that anteroom with you just before you gave your testimony?
My husband and Jen and Nat McCabe.
So Jennifer McCabe was with you yet again just before you gave
Yeah.
official testimony under oath concerning this case and concerning the incident.
Correct.
Ms. Roberts, when was the last time you've spoken to Jennifer McCabe before you testified in this trial?
In this morning.
Did you discuss your testimony?
No.
So you and Ms. McCabe, who became friends
Correct.
because of this incident,
Correct.
talked as recently as this morning before your testimony.
Correct.
And your testimony now is that you did not discuss anything about what you're doing here
No,
or what you're
I
going to
did
testify
not. She
to.
called to wish me good luck today.
When did you talk to her the last time before this morning?
I don't know, maybe a couple of days ago? I don't remember.
Within days of you taking the stand yesterday, correct?
Yes.
Did you ever?
Yes.
Ms. Roberts, I'm going to ask you, to take a look at, actually, let me ask it a different way. Did you say that you did or did not recall texting with Jen McCabe during the course of that January 29th interview with state police? Do you recall that or no?
No,
Okay,
During the interview, I didn't text anybody.
okay. Are you saying you didn't text anybody, or you don't recall? Whether
I don't
you-
recall. I don't think I had I wouldn't be texting somebody if I was being interviewed by the state police.
Right. Okay, would it refresh your recollection to take a look at a report of text messages?
Sure.
May I approach you?
Yes.
Thank you. So, may I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Take a look, there's two tabs. Take a look at the tabs and the data across the two tabs, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm in no rush. So, may I?
Yes.
Take this back? Robert, report information, Mr. Brennan.
Okay. Jurors, feel free to stand up and stretch if you'd like. And I forgot to tell you, anytime we're at sidebar, please feel free to stand up and stretch, okay?
That was quicker than we thought, Judge. May I
Okay.
proceed?
Yes.
Okay. Did you take a look at this document?
Yes.
Does that refresh your recollection that there were two text messages at around the time of your interview with those two troopers?
No.
Do you recall, as you sit here, texting Ms. McCabe that the state troopers were arriving or they're just getting there?
No.
Do you recall Ms. McCabe texting you anything back about calling me after?
No.
Okay. Did you, in fact, different question, did you, in fact, call Ms. McCabe right after the interview and talk to her?
I don't know.
Yeah, I was listening to Bev. I had to do a little stretch. LJ. Nobody else in the courtroom actually did what Bev said. I figured I'd help her
Have
out.
you ever testified that at the scene, Miss Reed was seated in the back of a patrol car along with Jennifer McCabe, and you were standing just outside the car, and there was an interaction among the three of you?
Yes.
Have you ever testified, or have you ever stated, in any particular, that during that interaction, Karen asked the three of you to pray?
Yes.
Have you ever said or testified that during that interaction where you're seated, where they are seated in the back of the patrol car, and Ms. Reed asked you to pray, that Ms. Reed said to Jennifer McCabe, Google hypothermia?
No.
You've never said that.
I've never said that.
You testified at the grand jury on April 26th, is that right? April 26th, 2022?
I do
got
not
that date
know.
right? Does that sound right, April 26th, 2022?
I have no idea.
Late April 2022, does that sound right?
I don't know. It was 2022.
You testified under oath, correct?
Yes.
Swore the same oath that you swore here.
Yes.
Tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and penalty of perjury. Is that right?
Yep.
That's what I needed.
This is when Kerry should stand up and stretch. He needs some stretching. Yeah. He needs to
Is
get
it your
up.
testimony that you have never said that Karen told Jen to Google hypothermia, or that you don't recall saying that?
I don't recall saying that.
Would it refresh your recollection to look at portion of your grand jury testimony from that day?
It might.
May I approach?
Yes.
Thank you.
Sure. And if you could read on to page 83 as well.
Yep. I testified. I didn't hear it, but I was told that she was asked to Google it.
I was told.
You testified under oath at the grand jury that at some point Karen was in back of the police cruiser, correct?
Yep.
Objection.
No, I'll allow that question.
Does that refresh your recollection as to what you told the grand jury?
Yes.
And isn't it true that at some point during the course of your testimony under oath, you said that Karen was in the back of the police cruiser?
Yes.
And then you went on to describe that Karen and Jen and I were standing outside, and she made us all start holding hands and starting to pray.
Yes.
I mean, what, the she being Karen Reed, correct?
Yes.
And at this point, they had lifted John up and taken him onto the gurney, correct? That's
I don't
what you
know.
described.
I don't recall.
Okay. I'm going to do this again, just so we're clear. May I approach?
Yes.
Sure. Thank you.
At the bottom?
At the bottom, last couple of paragraphs.
Okay. Yep, I say I think, so I'm not
I have
positive.
a question for you.
Okay.
Does that refresh your recollection?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Thank you. And you testified basically that you think, at least that's what you were telling the grand jurors, that you
Yep.
think that was the point at which they lifted John up
Yes.
and moved him into the ambulance, correct? Is that right?
Yes.
And then you were asked a question, what, if anything, did she, Miss Reed, ask Miss McCabe while they were sitting in the back of the cruiser that you heard, correct? Objection.
Do you recall that?
I did not hear the question about Google being asked.
That's not my question. May I ask? May I inquire?
Just repeat that question.
Sure. Isn't it true that you were next asked by Mr. Lally in front of the grand jury, quote, what, if anything, did she, Miss Reed, ask Miss McCabe while they were sitting in the back of the cruiser that you heard, end quote. Remember being asked that question?
No.
May I approach? Yes. Thank you. Thank you. If you look at lines 16 through 18.
Okay.
May I?
Yes.
Does that refresh your recollection? That was the question you were asked?
Yes.
Okay. And in response to that question, you stated, quote, at one point she asked her to Google hypothermia and how long Google hypothermia. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
That was very detailed, you'll agree, that that's a very detailed and specific recount of an event. You recounted where you were, back of a cruiser, or they were in the back of a cruiser, correct?
Yep.
You recorded or reported the time. It was right around the time that you thought they were lifting John up and scooped him up onto the gurney, correct?
Yep. I thought it was about that time. I wasn't sure.
Location,
I'm sorry, I didn't get that answer. You were talking over each other.
that's my mistake.
What was your answer, Ms. Roberts?
I thought it was about the time they lifted him up, but I wasn't sure.
You were very detailed about who was there. It was you, it was Jen, it was my client, Karen
Yes.
Reed, correct? Is that right?
Yes.
You were so detailed that you talked about where you were standing next to the cruiser open door, correct?
Yes.
What the others were doing, holding hands and praying, is that right?
Yes.
And the actual words used. You were as detailed about all of that as the actual words used. She asked her to Google hypothermia and how long, and then you stopped, Google hypothermia, end quote, correct?
Correct.
You will agree, at least for that purpose, you painted a very, very detailed picture in front of the grand jury, didn't you?
Yeah.
Except it's not true, is it?
I did not hear her ask that. I was told she was asked that. In
The
the,
answer to my question, Ms. Roberts, and I'm not a trick question, what you told the grand jurors was not true. You never heard her, my client, ask anyone to Google anything, did you?
I did not.
And yet, that's what you testified to under oath, under penalty of perjury, in front of the grand jury, didn't you?
I did.
And the reason you did that, the reason that you said that false statement was because someone told you to say it, correct? Object.
Is that, I'm going to let her answer.
Nobody
Good
told me
letter.
to say it. I knew it happened at that time,
How did you
which is
know it
why I
happened?
said it.
How did you know it happened, Miss Roberts, if no one told you it happened?
Because we wrote a timeline. We already spoke about
So
that.
the timeline that Jennifer McCabe helped you with, that influenced your testimony in front of the grand jury, correct? Obviously.
I was telling what happened in the back of the cruiser.
The timeline that you wrote,
So when you ask a question, let her answer, okay?
the timeline you wrote, with Jennifer McCabe's help, influenced your testimony to testify in front of the grand jurors to a statement that you never heard, correct?
Yes.
You were later asked about that statement in another investigation, by another investigator or set of investigators, correct?
I don't know.
Were you interviewed by a different law enforcement agency, a separate law enforcement agency from the Massachusetts State Police at any time?
Yes.
And you were told that to lie to those agents would be a crime, correct?
Yes.
Punishable by prison, correct?
I was not told that.
They asked you whether or not you heard Karen Reed ever say anything to Jennifer McCabe about Googling anything, correct?
I don't know.
Isn't it true that you told them what you've just now told us, which is, I did not hear Karen Reed ask Jennifer McCabe to conduct any Google searches?
I don't recall.
Would it refresh your recollection to look at a copy of that interview and that report?
Sure.
Didn't sound too convincing. Sure.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you to take a look at the entire document just to familiarize yourself with it, if you don't mind. Including the front page. And don't answer anything about the document until I ask you a question, if you don't mind, please.
Sure.
Thank you. Ms. Roberts, do you recognize that as being a report of an interview that you conducted?
I've never seen this before, but
Understood. You may never have seen it, but does it remind you that that's
Yes.
a report of a conversation you had with another law enforcement agency? I'm going to ask you to turn to page 7 of that report. And if you look, there's a small paragraph, about 2 paragraphs up from the bottom. I think I may have put a little blue dot by it, but I'm not sure. Please read that to yourself.
correct.
Done?
Yep.
Thank you. May I approach?
Yes.
Ms. Roberts, does that refresh your recollection about what you told these investigators?
Yes.
And what you told them was you, quote, did not hear Karen Reed ask Jennifer McCabe to conduct any Google
That is
search.
correct.
And you went on to say you saw McCabe on her phone.
I'll allow it.
You saw McCabe on her phone, but you did not hear Karen ask Jennifer to Google anything.
Correct.
So what you told the grand jurors was in fact false.
I misunderstood Mr. Lally's question.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Brennan, any questions?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle Roy.
When you spoke to the grand jury about your memory, were you trying to fool them in any way?
No.
Were you trying to,
Objection.
Watch the form of your questions.
were you trying to mislead them in any way?
Objection.
Sustain, watch the form of your questions.
When you spoke to the grand jury, were you honest?
Yes.
When you were asked the question, what, if anything, did the defendant ask Ms. McCabe, did you begin your response by saying, at one point?
You can show her her response.
May I approach?
Yes.
Page 83, line 19. I'm going to ask you to look at page 83, line 19. Just read it to yourself and the lines that follow. You done? When you were asked that question by Mr. Lally at the grand jury, did you ever say you specifically, personally heard that statement?
I'll allow that.
Did you
No,
ever
I
tell
did
the
not.
grand jury you actually heard that statement being made?
I did not.
And when you spoke to the people in that,
You know what's so frustrating too? Someone just commented they've watched this over like 3 times. It gets better every time. That's what's so frustrating about the legal justice system. The fact that these jurors don't have any transcripts and there's no video or audio for them to review later to go over testimony. And we're just leaving it to their judgment on what they saw live in their memory, which is faulty. Like, it just, when we wonder why these verdicts don't turn out right. Like, these jurors should be able to have every single piece of testimony on video at their fingertips that they can watch at any time. And they should get to watch it over and over again. Like, if I wanted, if I'm putting my life in front of a jury, or justice for a family member who was maybe, something horrible happened to them, I'd want the jurors to have every piece of information. And that should be video, audio of this testimony, to watch it over and over again. Because we all know that when we watch something quickly, especially live in person, we'll miss things. And if we get to watch it again, we'll pick up new things. And if we watch it again, we'll pick up even more. And that's what the jury should be provided. They should have video of the entire trial at their fingertips and the transcripts. And this is what's frustrating. We're relying on a justice system that is so understaffed, underperforms, and they're basically they're acting like it's the 1920s. Like, we're not in 2025. The NHL has instant replay. Like, every single sports league has instant replay today. Why can't the judges and the courts modernize the system so the jurors get the information, so that they have all the video? It's not hard. If I can do this, if I can get a recording, a live stream of every video, they can do the same thing. They could set up a friggin' YouTube channel and just give the access to the jurors and say, here's the link to the YouTube channel that we created for you. Here's every single piece of video from the trial. So I'm so frustrated with this judicial system, the way it works, and how much it costs the defendants to defend themselves. You call it a justice system when there's not. They're not trying to improve the justice system. Like, if it's really a justice system, we'd actually invest and improve it and give the jurors the video, the audio, the transcripts.
That report that you looked at on page 7, did you ever tell them you specifically heard that statement being made?
No.
Were you consistent in both of those statements?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you say anything different as
No.
far as what you personally observed between those statements?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
No.
And when you were asked about what the defendant may have said to Ms. McCabe, or Mrs. McCabe, did you generalize your answer?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you begin your answer with "at one point"?
Yes.
When you chose the words "at one point," what were you trying to convey to the grand jury?
I'll allow that.
I didn't know at what time it was done.
Was that a topic of conversation around the time you were brought to the grand jury?
Around the time what?
That you were brought to the grand jury to testify? This Google search.
Was it? I don't know.
Okay. Were you asked here in front of this jury whether or not you personally heard that statement?
Yes.
By me. Did I ask you that question?
No.
Did you personally hear that statement?
No.
After this happened, you discussed what had happened with people, didn't you?
I'm sorry, say it again?
After you found John lying in the snow, did you discuss what had happened, what you saw with other people?
Yes, of
Did
course.
anybody tell you that you couldn't discuss the trauma that you had been through?
Objection.
I'm going to allow that.
Say it again?
Did anybody tell you that you couldn't discuss what you had just seen?
No. Didn't say it again? I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
After you found John that morning, did anybody, civilian or law enforcement, ever tell you you weren't allowed to discuss what you had just went through?
No.
Did anybody ever tell you that you couldn't have support of other people?
No.
I'll allow that.
No.
Was this a traumatic event?
Yes.
Have you spoken to a number of people about it?
Yes.
Tell us why you would want to speak to somebody about what happened that morning.
Objection.
I'm going to allow that.
I've spoken to many people, obviously, that we all grew up with. But Jen in particular, I do speak to her. I am friends with her. We went through a really traumatic experience together.
Did you ever confide in other people other than Jen McCabe about what you endured that morning?
Yes, many people,
Why?
because it helps me get through. And it's whether John's family, friends, whoever, I've talked to a number of people about it.
Timeline helps the trauma. That's such a good point. Leslie's binder is better than Brennan's binder. I like that. Leslie's binder is greater than Brennan's binder. They're right. Getting support for grief and making a timeline are very different things. I know, right? Nothing says support like getting together with your friends and coming up with a timeline. When I'm down, I get together with a couple close friends and we come up with a timeline. And I always feel better after that. Jesus. Yeah, she is a talker. She is a talker. Oh. All right, let's get through this. Again, I just want to remind everyone, real quick programming note. Tonight, 6:30, we just replaced John Conley with Susan Harrington with the Canton Select Board, which is leading to the retirement of the Canton Police Chief, Helena Rafferty. And now we're going to try to replace Michael Morrissey, Norfolk County DA, District Attorney. We have Juna Perkins on the show tonight. She's a former prosecutor. She's a current attorney right now. She's a very serious person. She's going to be running for district attorney. She is currently running for district attorney. Juna Perkins for Norfolk County District Attorney on the show tonight at 6:30. Come back here tonight, please, at 6:30 and watch her. Tomorrow night, we'll have Carl Steinbeck, attorney Carl Steinbeck, on the show at 6:30. Tomorrow, court is going to be some testimony in the morning. I heard maybe an hour or so. There's going to be a few witnesses, and then they're going to take the jury to the scene of the drop off. That's what I'm calling it. Let's say call it the scene of the drop off. They're going to take the jury to the house tomorrow. So there's not going to be much happening in court tomorrow. It's going to be a half day for the jury as well. Monday is going to be the big day. They're going to have the ARCA stuff. There's going to be much more witnesses. So it's going to be a short day in court tomorrow. Carl Steinbeck tomorrow night. Juna Perkins on the show tonight. Please like and subscribe. The big thing I want you to do tonight, if you can, please subscribe. We got a new blog, website, domain. It's midnightmassnews.com, midnightmassnews.com. It's pinned in the chat right now. A lot of you have subscribed over the last day or two. I'm very thankful. If you haven't, please do so right now. We're going to have a new story up there about Canton and Susan Harrington. A lot more coverage coming there. We just put a new story out there 2 days ago. Please make sure you subscribe. Put your email in there. It's pinned in the chat right now. It is pinned at the very top. So go check that out. And Sarah just posted it too as well. I'm gonna pin Sarah's version. There you go. All right. Let's finish this off here.
You're friends with John's parents?
Parents?
John's parents, the
Yes.
O'Keefes. You still friends with them?
Yes.
Do you ever discuss what happened?
Yes.
You were asked by law enforcement if they could have your telephone?
Yes.
Was there a warrant?
Sustained, ask it differently.
Did you feel like you had any obligation, legal obligation, to give your phone to law enforcement?
I'll allow it.
No, they asked for my phone. I handed it over willingly.
Did you think you had to?
No, but there was no reason not to.
When they went through your phone, do you know whether they saw all of your phone calls that were on that phone?
Do you know that?
I don't know. They cloned my phone, so I assume they saw everything.
I'm going to strike that answer. So the answer is I don't know.
What type of information did you have on your phone when you voluntarily gave it?
I'll allow that.
Text messages, phone calls, call logs, pictures.
You said that you stayed friendly and still are friendly with Peggy O'Keefe and John Sr.?
Yes,
Okay. At some point, at times, do you try to help them with things?
daily.
Do you try to help them with the children?
Sustained.
Well, you were asked about contacting the district attorney's office about replacing a Ring camera.
Yes.
Whose Ring camera was that?
It was at One Meadows where Mr. and Mrs. O'Keefe, John's parents, are now living.
Who, what motivated you to call the district attorney's office about the Ring camera?
Because we knew the Ring might be some sort of evidence that they didn't want to take the camera that was not working down without permission.
We?
Do you have a Ring camera?
I do.
Do you know if there's a difference between the actual physical camera and the iCloud storage that keeps the actual video on it?
I don't know the difference.
Okay. Did you ever ask to replace any hard drives or storage, or were you asking to replace the camera itself?
Just the camera.
And that was in March 7, 2023?
I don't know when.
You were asked questions about what the defendant said that morning when you were trying to help Mr. O'Keefe.
Yes.
You were asked whether you heard any comments about her, from her, about dropping John off.
Say that one more time.
You were asked whether you heard any comments about her saying she dropped him off.
In the car on the way to the hospital.
Okay.
She said it to Mrs. O'Keefe.
When you were outside trying to help John, were you ever told where the defendant dropped John off?
No.
Were you ever told where he was left?
No.
Was it ever suggested that he went into 34 Fairview?
No.
Was it ever suggested that he went into any house whatsoever that morning?
No.
Were you ever asked to go into the house to look for him?
No.
When you were being interviewed by law enforcement, did you ever refuse to be interviewed?
No.
Were the interviews all the same or different?
They were all different. They were all different.
Were you ever asked to give a complete review and detail of everything that you knew?
I was just asked to tell me the story of what happened that morning.
And at some point when you were interviewed, you were asked about the phone calls that the defendant made to you that morning at 5 o'clock.
Yes.
When you received those phone calls, Jennifer McCabe was not on the line, was she?
No.
Was she a party to the calls?
No.
Did she influence your memory in any way about the words that the defendant spoke to you that morning?
I'll allow that.
No.
Do you have a clear memory of what the defendant said to you on the morning of January 29, 2022, at around 5 in the morning when she first called you?
Yes.
Is it your independent memory?
I'm saying.
Is it
sorry.
your independent memory?
Yes.
How well do you remember it?
Sustained.
Tell us what you remember her saying to you.
I'll allow it.
When she first called, she said, "John's dead, Kerry," and hung up.
And she called you back.
She called back.
When she called back, was there any other party on the line other than you and her?
No.
What do you remember the second time that she called you?
Yes. She said, "John, I think he got hit by a plow. He did not come home last night. He would never not have come home. I wasn't supposed to stay in Canton, and Kaylee was here. He would never leave Kaylee by herself.
Did anybody ever ask you to lie
No,
or exaggerate?
no.
Would you?
Say that?
Would you?
No.
Sustained.
You were asked whether or not you told people on January 29th about the missing pieces to the defendant's taillight. And you began to say you didn't tell anybody that morning.
I didn't think it had anything to do with John. I didn't want to point fingers at anybody
Why not?
because I had no idea what had happened to him. I wasn't going to point fingers at his girlfriend.
Was it in fact broken with missing pieces that morning?
Yes.
You saw the ring video of you and Miss McCabe and the defendant going into John's house?
Yes.
Had you seen that video before today?
Yes.
Had you been shown it before in
Yes.
other proceedings?
Yes.
When you went into the house with Miss McCabe and the defendant, did you do anything before you went into the house, actually in the house?
When
Take any-
we took off our shoes and
You took off your shoes?
Jen and I both took off our boots
Why did you take off your boots?
because you had to take off your shoes to go into John's house.
Well, you say you had to. Explain to us a little bit of the background on that.
John was a neat freak. You were not allowed to wear shoes in the house.
Had you ever worn shoes in his house?
No.
Had you ever seen anybody wear shoes in his house?
No.
You and
They
Miss
do
McCabe?
now. They do now.
Let's see. You and Miss McCabe took your shoes off?
Yes.
Did the defendant take her shoes off?
She did not.
How do you remember that?
Because Jen and I were standing there for about a good 2 minutes trying to get our boots off, and she had already gone in the house.
Do you know why you were called that morning?
No.
Did you volunteer to be part of this
Yes.
after the call?
Yes.
You had said you thought that you looked at the taillight before you went into John's house?
Yes.
Do you remember actually seeing the tail light that morning?
I do.
Was it simply cracked?
No.
Do you know that the portion of the ring video from when you came out of the house with the defendant, Miss McCabe, do you know that that portion is missing?
Sustained.
Have you ever seen any ring video depicting when the defendant was showing you her missing pieces of taillight that morning?
No.
Despite no video, are you certain that you saw it?
Say it again.
Are you certain that you looked at it with the defendant that morning in that driveway?
Sustained.
I'd like to play clip 3, please.
Okay.
That sippy cup.
Okay.
Quiet, folks, still on the record.
This now. All right, go ahead, Mr. Brennan.
When you first got to John and you were trying to save him that morning, Do you have a distinct memory of it?
Yes.
Counsel had asked you if it was your story. Was this a story?
Say it again?
Was it a story that you told?
A story?
Yes.
It's what happened.
Do you wish it was just a story?
Sustained.
There's no further question.
Okay, so recross.
Just asked, just a few minutes ago. Did you ever say that you actually heard that statement about that Google search? And you said no.
Correct.
The question that was posed to you by Mr. Lally was, what, if anything, did she, Miss Reed, ask Miss McCabe while they were sitting in the back of the cruiser that you heard?
Right.
Correct?
I misunderstood the
And
question.
you misunderstood that question?
Yes.
What
I
did you
did.
misunderstand about that question?
I didn't know it was that you heard, so I was explaining what happened in the back of the car.
I see. So you just ignored the part, literally, the part of the question where he said, what did you hear her say? That's what your
I think the word
testimony
was
is now?
heard, and I didn't hear it. I obviously got the question wrong because I did not hear anybody ask about a Google search.
Well, I know that's what you're saying now. I get that. But when you were asked, what, if anything, did she ask Miss McCabe while they were sitting in the back of the cruiser that you heard, your immediate answer was, at one point, she asked her to Google hypothermia and how long dash Google hypothermia, end quote. Correct?
Correct?
That was your answer,
Yes.
correct?
To a question I misunderstood.
And that was a false statement, wasn't it?
Technically.
Technically?
Yes,
It's like being a little
technically.
bit pregnant, Ms. Roberts.
Okay, so remember, jurors, I said earlier, comments of counsel.
Technically. Now Bev's gonna lecture. Oh my god. That was so good. Technically?
Are not evidence and you're to disregard them. Ask a question.
Thank you, Your Honor. What do you mean technically?
Technically, I was under oath and I did not hear Karen asked Jen to Google it,
And yet under oath.
but I
you-
knew it happened at that
And yet
time.
under oath you said you did.
Correct.
And that was a lie, correct?
Objection.
Was that a lie? Did you lie?
I did not intentionally,
But you did.
Not intentionally.
And,
not intentionally.
okay, that's the end of
Understood
this.
the question, Mr. Jackson.
All right, is there any other question or is that it?
I didn't hear what she just said.
I said I misunderstood the question, Mr. Jackson.
That's what you're saying now, correct?
That's what happened.
All right,
Can I ask one more question?
okay.
In that quote, you said, at one point she asked her to Google hypothermia and how long. Then you corrected yourself and finished with Google hypothermia. What did you mean by how long? What were you about to say?
I don't recall.
Had someone told you something about a phrase that started with how long?
I don't recall.
Hypothermia?
I don't recall.
Like, for instance, how long to die in cold?
I don't recall.
Okay. All right, Ms. McCabe, I'm sorry, Ms. Roberts, you're up.
Look at her smiling. Miss McCabe. Look at her smiling. She heard that. Miss McCabe. This is so funny when Bev shuts it down and then says the wrong name. Bev is such an idiot. I love it. She tries to bail her out and then she says the wrong name. That was so classic. Look at that smile. This was so good. This was so good. Play that little last bit again. Look at her face.
That question?
Yes.
What
I
did you
did.
misunderstand about that question?
I didn't know it was that you heard, so I was explaining what happened in the back of the car.
I see. So you just ignored the part, literally, the part of the question where he said, what did you hear her say? That's what
I
your
think the word
testimony
was
is now?
heard, and I didn't hear it. I obviously got the question wrong because I did not hear anybody ask about a Google search.
Well, I know that's what you're saying now. I get that. But when you were asked, what, if anything, did she ask Miss McCabe while they were sitting in the back of the cruiser that you heard, your immediate answer was, at one point, she asked her to Google hypothermia and how long dash Google hypothermia, end quote. Correct?
Correct?
That was your answer,
Yes.
correct?
To a question I misunderstood.
And that was a false statement, wasn't it?
Technically.
Technically?
Yes,
It's like being a little
technically.
bit pregnant, Ms. Roberts.
Okay, so remember, jurors, I said earlier, comments of counsel are not evidence and you're to disregard them. Ask a question.
Thank you, Your Honor. What do you mean technically?
Technically, I was under oath and I did not hear
I'm putting this out to the chat. Like, I didn't actually hear Jackson do what Bev accused him of. He just asked a question. He just repeated what she said, right? What the hell is wrong with Bev? Bev is ridiculous. I'm so tired of her trying to put her thumb on the scale of justice. Shut up, Bev.
Jen. Karen asked Jen to Google it,
And yet under oath.
but I
you-
knew it happened at that
And yet
time.
under oath, you said you did.
Correct.
And that was a lie, correct?
Objection.
Was that a lie? Did you lie?
I did not intentionally,
But you did.
And,
not intentionally.
okay, that's the end of
Understood
this.
the question, Mr. Jackson.
All right, is there any other question or is that it?
I didn't know what you just said.
I said I misunderstood the question, Mr. Jackson.
That's what you're saying now, correct?
That's what happened.
All right,
Can I ask one more question?
okay.
In that quote, you said, at one point, she asked her to Google hypothermia and how long. Then you corrected yourself and finished with Google hypothermia. What did you mean by how long? What were you about to say?
I don't recall.
Had someone told you something about a phrase that started with how long?
I don't recall.
Hypothermia?
I don't recall.
Like, for instance, how long to die in cold?
I don't recall.
Okay. All right, Ms. McCabe, I'm sorry, Ms. Roberts, you are all set.
Thank you.
And that's that. I mean, that was wow. Jackson destroyed her. Destroyed her. Don't recall. I know, right? I guess what Jackson Sin was saying, technically pregnant, that's still a question. I mean, come on. Ridiculous. He says just because he said pregnant, come on. Bev is ridiculous. Okay, we're done now. Let's move on. Let's move on. Technically, that was so good though. AJ is incredible. It was amazing. I gotta say that I think Brennan is better than Lally. I know he still sucks. He still has no case, but I think he has actually done a better job at this point than Adam Lally. However, the defense is doing a way better job. And I think that's obvious, like witnesses like this. This is the perfect example. Her credibility, there is no credibility. She is owned by Jen McCabe. I mean, that's it. She's sitting there working on a timeline. I can't wait to see Jen McCabe on the stand. You know? So the defense is going to do much better this time because they've had so much more time. They've got so much more info, and they know this case like the back of their hand. This is the second run through for them. Brennan, he's still learning the case. He didn't watch the first trial when it happened. You know, he wasn't there. So the prosecution is facing a big uphill burden. They got to prove that Karen Reed did it. I don't think they've showed anything. The only thing that they have going for them is they have audio and video of Karen saying things that they think makes her look bad. I think there's a risk to that because it does humanize Karen. You know, the weird thing about a trial is most witnesses, most defendants don't ever speak. So the jury is kind of left to wonder, like, you know, they're looking at the defendant every day, but they never actually hear them speak. They don't even know what their sound of their voice looks like. Well, Karen, they get to hear Karen in her own words by Brennan putting up those little clips of her I think those clips are supposed to make her look bad. They probably do in some respect. Karen probably shouldn't have done so much press. But at the same time, if that's all you have is her statements, that's the best evidence you have. And there's also a risk that it humanizes Karen, that some people might actually like Karen and have sympathy for her, and putting those clips up make it even more so. So I don't think they have a case. I mean, again, I think all of this handicapping that we all do on these shows, where we're talking to legal experts on how this might end up with the jury. None of us know in the end because we don't know who's on the jury. We don't know who's the strong people in the jury, who's analytic, who's thinking, who's listening. So it all ends up being about the jury in the end. Let's hope it's a good jury. Let's hope they were paying attention today. All right, I'm gonna head out. I'll be back. I said at 6:30 we have a candidate. She's an attorney, a former prosecutor, Juna Perkins. She's very impressive. She's running for Norfolk County District Attorney to replace Michael Morrissey. Please come over at 6:30. Support the show. Share it, post it, invite your friends if they're from Norfolk County. We want to get as many people supporting her campaign as possible. It's next year, 2026. She's starting early, which is a good sign. That's what good campaigns do. A lot of us were working on this Susan Harrington campaign. We defeated John Connolly, first time he's lost in over 30 years. I don't think he's ever lost, actually. So that was the first time campaign beat the longtime incumbent. We're trying to do it again. Same situation, Michael Morrissey. He's been in office forever. He needs to be defeated. We've got a strong candidate, Juna Perkins. She's going to be here at 6:30 tonight. Please come back and check out the Young Jerks tonight at 6:30. Tomorrow night, we'll be live with Carl Steinbeck at 6:30, attorney, talking about the Karen Reed case. And also tomorrow morning, we'll definitely be streaming as well from Karen Reed retrial in the morning. Thank you, everybody, for supporting. I do want to make sure I thank all of the super chatters. And also, I did have a Venmo come in, too, from earlier. I want to thank Melanie R. Melanie R. sent $25 on the Venmo today. And she said, my pleasure to send a little appreciation your way. Peace, love. Thank you so much for Melanie R. And I also want to thank our moderators, MJ, Stephanie, Sarah, and Shotgun Horror. I want to thank her, Scott McGinnis, and Jenna. We have the great mod team. Thank you so much to our moderators. And thank you to all of our super chatters like Michelle, who became a member today, Sue, Unapologetically Authentic, Sue E. Generous. Thank you so much. And I want to thank Greg, as well as the Petty Paralegal. Thank you again. Member for 10 months. And Gary Titus, the DJ from Canton, Massachusetts. Thank you so much, Gary. And Gary's going to be quoted in my next story that I'm putting out on the website blog we have. Make sure you subscribe. It's pinned at the top of the chat, midnightmassnews.com. Make sure you put your email address in there. Thank you so much to everybody who's supporting. And we'll see you later tonight at 6:30. Peace out. We'll see you later tonight, 6:30. Thanks, jerks.